theyeshiva.net.
We learned yesterday the shitta of the Rambam to understand when a bracha is comprised of the word le and a bracha is al. Le haniach tefillin, al mitzvahs tefillin. Leisha basukah, al netilas lulav. Le hadlik ner shel Chanukah, al mikra megillah. Le kvaya mezuzah, al mitzvahs tzitzis. Le hisatev batzitzis, al divrei Torah. Lishmoya koil shofar, al sviras ha'omer. Right? Most people before they learn the Gemara don't even pay attention. A bracha, you make a bracha next. Lamul al hamila, al hashchita, etc. Why al, why le? So, the Rambam gives us the formula of the three conditions. You remember condition number one, in order to say le is, it has to be an absolute obligation. Condition number two is you are fulfilling your obligation, not somebody doing it on behalf of you like a moil. Number three, the bracha must be said before the mitzvah. If any of these conditions are missing, the text will shift from le to al. The chiddush of the Rambam is biur chametz. We say al biur chametz because when we're doing the bdika, the biur happened already because the bittul was there when I go and I want to be by the chametz in my mind. This chametz is worthless and meaningless, and therefore the bittul happens. I say al biur chametz, just like I say al netilas lulav. That is basically the view of the Rambam. We discussed at length the various brachas and how they could fit in to the algorithm of the Rambam. And we discussed the shit of the Meiri. The Meiri holds, not like the Rambam, the bittul doesn't happen before. The reason you say al bir according to him is because there's one more condition that takes it from li to al, and that is if the mitzvah is not being done right away. According to the Meiri, you're doing the bdika right away, but ultimately the main part of the mitzvah you're doing tomorrow, which is the bir chametz, the destruction of chametz, so therefore you don't say li, you say al. That's a fourth condition. The mitzvah is not being done right away. And we concluded with the great chiddush of the Avnei Nezer, who says by matzah, we say al achilas matzah, al achilas morer, which is very strange. Why? And the Mefarshim struggle with this, why we would say al by these mitzvahs. And his great chiddush is because the mitzvah is not happening right when you do it. Doing it, it's happening by chatzos. Now we come to the shita of the Ran, Rabbeinu Nisip. We're going to learn it inside, understanding why we say li and why we say al. It's a long Ran, it's a long Rabbeinu Nisip, and he explores this in great length.
The Meiri basically argues with the Rambam.
The Meiri argues with the Rambam about one detail.
The bittul is...
Yeah. He holds that the bittul is not before. He doesn't agree with the Rambam. He says that's not called bittul. The bittul happens after the bdika, you do bittul. So that's not, you can't say al for that reason. He says the reason you say al is because the mitzvah is actually not being done right away. You're starting to do it, right? That's why you make a bracha now.
But right, the beer is...
The main mitzvah is the beer, that's going to be tomorrow. So therefore you can't say Sheshanim Tosav Tzivanu Levayir Chametz, which sounds like he commanded me, right, to do this right now, because the real commandment is not for right now. The real commandment I'm only going to implement tomorrow. So Hashem says, I'll beer, regarding the concept of beer. Not live by right now. I don't have a mitzvah to be mavai. I'm not going to do beer right now. I'm going to do the beginning of beer. Rashi says b'dike nami hainu beer. Right? Beer is b'dike. Rashi told us. Beer hainu nami b'dike. That b'dike is part of beer. That's the shit of the Meiri. So this one detail he differs with the Rambam. According to the Rambam, if you find chalamoya the chametz, you're saying you should say levayir chametz. Huh?
Yeah, the whole. You say al because the Rambam had the bittul.
Interesting question. If you find chametz in the middle of Pesach, you should say levayir chametz. Why? Because you didn't do the mitzvah yet. The bittul you already did, but already that you made a bracha. And this is new chametz that you just found, and you have to be mavayim b'derabbanan, and you should say li. Okay, interesting. I don't know if la halacha the Rambam would say that, because probably once they made the bracha al bir chametz, they're not going to distinguish that in one unique situation you change the text of the bracha, right? You change the text of the bracha.
Al means both.
Huh? Right. Because I guess you have to say al can also mean lahaba, even if it primarily means meikara. That's what Tosfos also said. Yeah. Zog the hele kiram. My mevarich. You see the first column. My mevarich v'chuli. What do you make? What's the brach? Amrinam b'Gemarah. The Gemarah says the levayir kol alma loy pligi de lahaba mashma. Nobody argues that when you say li, it sounds like the future. Hashem commanded me to dispose of the chametz. And that would mean that li always works because you make the bracha before the mitzvah. The argument is about al. If Papa holds al also connotes the future and therefore it works. Where if Papi says no, when you say al, it sounds like the past, not like the future. So if I make a bracha, Hashem commanded me, al bir chametz, it's like thank you for the opportunity of destroying the chametz, not thank you for the opportunity to destroy the chametz. So how could you say that? You didn't do it yet. So therefore, Rav Papi says you have to say le. Rav Papa says you could say al, hilchach dafka levaya. According to the second opinion, you have to say le, vasikna, and the Gemara concludes hilchasa al bir chametz. The halach is you say al bir chametz. Okay. The kashi lehu l'rabvis zechroinam levracha. Our rebbes, our teachers had a question. The question was kiv on the levayir kulal maloi pligi. Since everybody holds that levayir works because levayir means the future for sure. Lamonu machnisin reishenu ben hamachleikas. Why do we have to put our heads into a fight? Why do you have to, what do they say, put your head, like a gesunte cup in a kranke bed. Don't put in a healthy head in a sick bed. Why? What do you have to put in? What do you have to butt into a fight, into an argument? Leave it alone. If levayir wouldn't work, so you have to know levayir out there. But you're telling me that levayir, everyone agrees is good. Why? Because levayir connotes the future. The question is if al connotes the past to the future. So when you're standing and you're about to do bdikas chametz, you're holding your candle and you're about to go check for the chametz and you have to make a bracha. Everybody would agree, the Gemara says, that le is perfect because le connotes the future. The question is, does al work? So why does we have to say, let's choose a side? We have a way that works with everybody. What do you have to say halacha like one way? You have to choose a halacha because it's either this or this, and they contradict each other, so you choose one way. But we have a way that incorporates all the shittas. V'tiritz harayvid zal. So the first answer is the answer of the Ravid, Huva b'Ramban. Ramban quotes it. The hachikama, what he means is v'hilchasa, the af al bir lahaba mashim. Not the halach is you should say al bir. The halach is you could also say al bir. Al bir also connotes the future. That's the halach. In other words, we embrace Rav Papa's position. If you say levayir, we're not going to make you do the bracha again. It's good. Levayir is for sure good. The Gemara is saying v'hilchasa, you can also say al bir chametz. That's how the Ravid learns it. So you're saying why we're putting our head into machlaikas? We're not. We're telling you could say levayir, but if you say al bir, it's fine. You don't have to go back. Why? Because the halach is that al bir also works because it connotes the future, not the past.
It seems like al bir is even better because it could be past or future. It could be.
We're not. Now this is. Don't mix up shittas. Rambam is unique. The Rambam is unique that you're making a bracha for the past, but these Rishonim didn't see it that way. So don't get confused with the shit of the Rambam. This is a completely different shit.
Rashi says al bir can be on the future.
Rashi says the halacha is that al bir means also for the future, and therefore you could say al bir. But could you say levayir? Of course. And Rashi says that's why the father of a child could say al hamila, because al hamila means the future. So the father could say al hamila. You don't have to say lamol, because Rashi is learning not like the Rambam that the conclusion of the Gemara is that the halacha is like Rev Papa. That al connotes the future, not the past.
So the easiest thing would basically make every bracha al.
Huh?
Just make every bracha al. Just that would be the simplest.
Oh, so that's the question. So the Raivitaka says you could say le, you could say al, and therefore if you say le, you're great. And if you say al, you're also good enough to go back. Ella shu nikah mibrichaisav she'ena talmid chacham. But if you say al, if you say le, it demonstrates that the person is not a talmid chacham, meaning that they think you have to say le because they don't know the halach. We find this in Maseches Brachas. Amrin and Hassam. The question is to say moitzi or hamoitzi lechem and arts. Moitzi kol alma loy pligi. Everybody holds you could say moitzi. V'afal became pasku hilchas hamoitzi. But the halach is say hamoitzi, even though everybody holds you could say moitzi lechem. Why do we say hamoitzi? V'itmer Allah demandem of orich moitzi zeu shemel of adam gadolu. They said that when you say hamoitzi, when you demand the amar moitzi mavarich moitzi zeu shemrim alav adam gadolhu bishleim iyashmin and hamoitzi shaper elahashta ma'ikam ashmalan b'moitzi kul almalay pligi. He's basically quoting from that Gemara that the only advantage of saying hamoitzi over moitzi is that it's recognizable that the person is aware and knowledgeable in these halachas, and therefore he knows to say it. You could say hamoitzi. That's what the Ravid says would be the advantage of saying al biur. It's not an essential advantage. It's just to demonstrate that the person is aware of hilchas brachas that you could say al also. According to this, the Gemara is basically saying you could say whatever you want. And there's really no difference between le and al. Rav Papi said there's a big difference. Rav Papa says there's not a difference. Al means the future. Le means the future. And therefore, you could say al. It's not a problem. And you could say le. And it's not an essential difference. And the halach is just, if you want, you could say al. And there's one advantage. The advantage is it shows that you're aware of hilchas brachas. And therefore, you know that you could do both. This works with the first shit of Taisvis in the Hilchasa, that you could say al, and you don't have to say al. You could.
He's not arguing, he just said it's...
He's not arguing. At the end of the day, the Gemara is not saying you should say al, the Gemara is saying you could say al. That's it. And you could also say le. And le has an advantage because nobody argues about it, and al is an argument. But al has an advantage because it shows that you're familiar with hilchas brachas. And that's one perspective, which is a very interesting perspective. And that is, there's that really no difference at the end of the day. Hey, Bazai, why some brachas le? Why some brachas al? You could have said le. You could have said al. Maybe if you already did the mitzvah, like by a netilas lulav, we understand. But you said al because al means the future, but perhaps it can also mean the past, right? Even though primarily it means the future, according to this. But a lot of brachas, why would you say al? Why you would say le? According to this, he's not giving a rhythm here. He's not giving an algorithm. He's basically saying both work. There's a mila in each. The mila in al is it shows that you're a talmid chacham. Umiyu, but the Ran says there's something bothersome here. Akati ikalamedak. Here's the problem. If this is true,
Why is it akati exactly?
Still. Akati still ikalamedak. Lama shalukan my mevarich gabe bir. Why did the Gemara suddenly ask this question? My mevarich. What's the bracha by bir chametz? V'lei nechelku bistam al kol mitzvahs kulon. The question should have been a different question. By all the mitzvahs, which bracha do you make? Do you make le? Do you make al? Why suddenly Masechta Pesachim Daf Zayin Amid Aleph? The Gemara says you have to make a bracha. My mevorich. Tell me the nusach. Why bir chametz? According to this, the Gemara should ask a general question. What's the bracha you make for all mitzvahs? When you're putting on tefillin, what's the bracha? Al hanachas tefillin or le'aniach tefillin? When you're putting on a talis, al atifas talis or le'sativ batalis? When you're eating matzah, lechel matzah or lechel? Ask that question. And Rav Papi will say le, and Rav Papa will say al. Rav Papa he says le because it's the future, and Rav Papa says al because he holds that al is also the future. And then you'll say the halach is you could say al. According to this explanation of the Ravid, then why did the Gemara decide from 613 mitzvahs to pluck out one mitzvah, bir chametz, and here we're going to focus in the debate about le and al? Gewaldige question. Elevada, you have to say, ein kol ha-mitzvahs shavos. Mitzvahs are not identical. Ve'alev al kayotze bar nechlekut. Machloikas was not another mitzvahs. Machloikas was by bir chametz. There was something about bir chametz that bothered them. That's why it's a machloikas and bir chametz. By other mitzvahs, their papi and Papa didn't argue. They agree, either li or al. V'kach anu noyagin, and you see clearly. I prove it to you. Why? Look at our minig. Levarich b'ktsas ha-mitzvahs ba'al. Sometimes we say al, like mila, shchita, lulav. Uksasam b'lamed, kitfilin v'tzitzis, v'tzarich tam lama. If the Ravid was right, li and al always work, why is it that the Jewish minig is some mitzvahs you do like this, some mitzvahs you do like this? Why aren't we consistent? Always say the same thing. So maybe sometimes you could find a reason. But for example, why do you say al hamila and lahaniach tefillin? You could say al hanachas tefillin, or you could say lamu. We said both work, lahaba. So we're good. So bir chametz, we decided we're doing al. So why not tefillin al hanachas tefillin? And this brings us to the next question, the first question. Why is the argument only on bir chametz? The argument should have been on everything. From this, the Ran says, no. The argument is only on bir chametz. By most other mitzvahs, they agree. There's something unique about bir chametz that triggered a debate. It triggered a unique debate, and that's why it's brought in this Gemara. And that's why we see practically that by some mitzvahs we say al, by some mitzvahs we say le, and they're not arguing about that, Rav Papi and Rav Papa. What would be the explanation? And here the Ran introduces his mahalach. And this is what he says. V'hachi hu tiritza de milsa. Now his clarity and his elaboration is very unique here for the Rishonim, for a Rishon. Here is the teretz. Yesh lanu shtei minei mitzvahs. We have two types of mitzvahs in Yiddishkeit. Mitzvah shal korcho yesh le l'kaima ba'atzmoi v'yefshel lipotir mimena adei acherim. There's a mitzvah that you must do on your own. You cannot fulfill your obligation through another human being. What we call shlichus. For example, tefillin, tzitzis, yeshiva sukkah, v'deimeya. I can't ask a Jew, say, I don't have time to put on tefillin today, I got to go to work. Do me a favor, I'm making you a shliach, put on tefillin for me. It doesn't work. I'm really in a rush, I have no sukkah. Do me a favor, it's sukkahs, you go eat lunch in the sukkah and do it as my shliach. Or the same is true with tzitzis. You have a talis for me. All these things, they're called mitzvahs shebegufay. We say shluchah shel adam kamaisai. A shliach represents you. But that's as long as you don't have to do it with your guf. Another example would be shofar. I can't appoint a shliach before Rosh Hashanah and say, do me a favor. I'm going to be in an island, I don't have a shofar. Why don't you blow shofar and do it on my behalf? It doesn't work. Why? My ears have to hear the shofar. You're my shliach. You're my shliach means you represent me. But the shofar got to go into my eardrums. It didn't go into my eardrums. Same would be with many other mitzvahs that I can't appoint a shliach. A shliach is not going to work here. It has to be something, the tefillin has to be on my arm. If it's on your arm, it's a beautiful thing for you, but it doesn't work for me as my shliach because the tefillin did not go on my arm. It comes Shabbos, I have to make kiddush. I can't make you a shliach to make kiddush for me. And I don't have to make kiddush. I could be yotze with your kiddush, but I say, you make kiddush, I'm not there. These are mitzvahs that you have to be part of. You're involved. These types of mitzvahs, everybody agreed they get a lamed. Why? The lamed represents that the mitzvah is my obligation. Hashem commanded me to put on tefillin. It's my obligation. We see this from the Gemarah. The Gemarah asks, according to the one who says levaya of Papi, we say al hamila. Alma, what do we say? We see ba'al mevarchina v'loy b'lamed. We say al, not a lamed. Umetartzina, what does the Gemara answer? Loy sagi de lav iu moyel bitmiya. Is it not good if you're not the moyel? Kelaymar the chol heiche sha'avi ben kiyam mitzvah metelos alav v'loy alacher. Wherever. Kelaymar the chol heiche sha'avi ben kiyam. Shavia ben Kayam, ha-mitzvah matalas alav v'loy acher. What the Gemara means is that as long as the father of the child is alive, the mitzvah is on him to circumcise his son, not on anybody else. Hilchach loy motzi livrucha belamed. So the moil can say a lamed. Ashtek deshanim mitzvayis b'tzivonu lomol. To have a mashma, it would sound the loy sagi de laviyu moil. It wouldn't be good if he's not the moil. The lesser, that's not true. I don't even have an obligation. If you're a father and you had a child, the mitzvah is on you to do the bris, not on me, because you're alive. So therefore, when I do the bris, I can't say lomol, because I don't have a mitzvah to do it. All I could say is ala milah. V'amrin and su, and the Gemara continues, Avia ben ma'ikal, and what about the father? Umadrin and hachinami. The Gemara answers, you're right, kilaymer, ein hachinami, the lamanda amar levayir, hamolas b'nai mevarich lomol. The Gemara says, you're right, the father of the son should say lomol if he does the bris himself, according to the view levayir. Alma, what do we see from here? Shimosh halamed mayrish ha-mitzvah mutelos alav. The lamed represents that the mitzvah's obligation is on me. So if I'm the moil, I can't say it, because I don't have an obligation to do the bris. I'm doing it as your shliach. But if I'm the father of the son and I'm doing the bris, then the Gemara says, according to this view of Levari, you say lamed. What do we see from this principle? That lamed relates very much if it's my mitzvah that I have to do on my own. So then I could say lamed. So the Ran says, from here we learn the premise. And what's the premise? What's the yisoid? The yisoid is that there's no question that all the mitzvahs that I have to do myself and I can't appoint a shliach, everybody agrees you say lamed.
You can't be mitzvah then with the bracha. Someone else could be mitzvah you with the way Shabbat it's on you.
That sometimes, yeah. For example, shofar, you could be yotz. Yeah. The bracha they could be mitzi. They can't be mitzi the mitzvah.
Right.
The bracha they could be yotz, but the mitzvah I have to hear shofar. I can't make a shliach to hear shofar. It has to reach my ears. V'yesh mitzvah acheres, but there's another type of mitzvah. Sha'af al pishim mutelos alav. Even though this mitzvah is on me, efsheli pater men adei acher. You could fulfill the mitzvah by appointing someone else's agency. For example, bir chametz, mila, pidyon haben, v'day mehen. He gives 3 examples. He gave 3 examples on the first one. Tefillin, tzitzis, and sukkah. Now he gives 3 examples on this one. Bir chametz. I'm going to Miami. I can appoint you as a shliach for bir chametz. I don't have to do it myself. Go to my house, check my chametz, collect my chametz, and burn it. And that's fine. I don't have to do it myself. Tashbisu is not a mitzvah on me. You're doing it on my behalf with my chametz. It's good. Mila. I don't have to circumcise my child myself. I can appoint a moil. Pidyon haben. I don't have to do it myself. I can send you as a shliach to the kohen, give money on my behalf, and please redeem my son. Different type of mitzvah. This is not a mitzvah I have to do with my body. This is a mitzvah that has to get done on my behalf. My body doesn't have to physically burn the chametz or collect the chametz. My chametz has to be collected. If it's done for me on my behalf, awesome. Therefore, it's a different type of mitzvah. So he says, "U'mitzvahs halaluk she'nasas aydei acher hakol moedim sha'isi acher mevarech alein ba'al." When these mitzvahs are indeed done through my agent, everybody agrees, he will say al. Kedamrin and Gemarah gabe mila loy saki de laviyu moil, as the Gemara says by mila. When the moil makes the bris, he says ala mila. Why? Because it's not his own thing. Is it not good if he's not the moil? Of course it's good if he's not the moil. He doesn't have to be the moil. And we understand why. When you're the shliach and you're doing bir chametz for me, when you're doing my pidyon haben for me, you're not going to say, God commanded me to redeem this child. He did it. It's not your child. It's my child. God commanded us al pidyon haben regarding the mitzvah of pidyon haben, which I happen to be someone else's shliach now. So the Ran gave us a yesod. Mitzvahs that you have to do, and you can't appoint an agent, always le. Mitzvahs that an agent can do on your behalf, and the agent does it, always al. This is the algorithm, and nobody argues about this according to the Ran.
Tzitzis.
Tzitzis.
Almonds and tzitzis.
Why is that your only question?
That's the one I know. That's good.
Ask another few questions on the Ran. Tefillin, you say lahaniach tefillin. You mean the second one, al mitzvahs? Okay, good question. Al achilas matzah. Can you appoint a shliach for matzah? Can you tell somebody, Rabbi say it's Pesach, do me a favor, I don't like matzah. You eat the matzah, you eat the mari, you drink the dalit kaisis. In fact, you do the whole seder as my shliach. Yeah? A lot of people would pay a lot of money for such a shlichus, right? Huh?
Aren't you saying it's
Al Harayas? I understood it.
Isn't it a mitzvah that's somebody else? Aren't you making it for something that's upstream? You're keeping in mind upstream that it's going on the end of the seder when it's on.
So that's the question. If the Ran was right, what happened with al achilas matzah l'cha'ira? Al achilas matzah, it would seem, has to be lechel matzah. You can't make a shliach. Good question. Good ha'ara. But the Ran maintains that this is the system of mitzvahs. So what's the argument? Al manech leku, second column. Al manech leku. Listen to the machlok. It's very interesting. Al ha-mitzvahs halalu ha-matalas alav chayva ve'ef shalasis ha'yedei acher aval kshahu ba'atzmai oisois and ketzad mavarach. A mitzvah that I can appoint an agent. I have to do it, but I can appoint an agent. But I decide I'm not appointing an agent. I want to do it myself. Now what's the brach? Here is the machlokas. It's not a regular machlokas in the whole Torah. It's only on one category of mitzvahs. Mitzvahs that are obligated on you, it's your obligation, but you can appoint an agent. What's the classic example? Bir chametz. That's why the argument is bir chametz. What's the argument? There's two ways of looking at this. Mara Amar Levayir, the first opinion says, say Levayir, kiven the chiyuva le rami, it's my obligation. Even though I could appoint somebody else, Motzi Amar Levayir. You could still say Levayir because I'm doing it myself. I didn't ask you to do it, so I should say Levayir. If you do it, you'll say Al Biur, but I should say Levayir. Ve'ilu Amar Bahani Al. According to this view, if I would say Al, it's not good. Since I could say Levayir because it's my mitzvah, Mashma Meikara. So the fact that I'm saying Al when I could say Le sounds like I'm connoting the past. When somebody else is doing it, he can't say Levayir. The Lavalei Rami doesn't have the obligation. Ki Amar Al Bir Loi Mashma Meikara. When he says Al, it doesn't connote the past, because we all understand he can't say Le, because he doesn't have the achrayas, he doesn't have the mitzvah. So the only thing he could say is Al, because Al means regarding Bir Chametz, so it doesn't sound like the past. But when I'm doing Bir Chametz and I say Al, and I could say Le, because it's an obligation on me, what does Al sound like? I did it already. So Rav Papi says, no way that you could say Al when you do it yourself. B'meila, and that's why the answer for him by Mila is Loi Sagi de Lavi Umayil. It's not good if you're not the Mayil. You say Ala Mila, why? Because you can't say Lamul. You're forced to say Ala Mila. That's Shita number one. Umar Savar. The second opinion, Rav Papa, is the Bebir v'kayotze boy. Any type of mitzvah where there could be a shliach, Lekel of ruche belamed. You can't say lamed. You know why? Because it could be done through somebody else, even if it's not. That defines the mitzvah. So when I say al, because I can't say le, it's just like when the moil says al. It connotes the future. And it's actually better than saying it with a lamed. You know why? Because we then learn two things. Chada, number one, the lahaba mashma, that it means also the future. Al could mean the future. It also teaches me a halacha. When I say al, it teaches us that this is a type of mitzvah that you can appoint somebody else to do. So therefore, if it's a mitzvah that I could only do myself, it's always le. If it's a mitzvah that somebody else does on my behalf, it's always al. The machlokes is, it's a mitzvah that somebody can do for me, but I chose to do it myself. I'm going to do my own b'dikas chametz. I didn't appoint you. Rev Papi says, you could say le, because it's a mitzvah that's your obligation. Hashem told me to be mevayir chametz. I could appoint you, but I didn't appoint you. I'm doing it myself. So say le. And if you say al, when you could say le, it sounds like it happened already. And therefore it's inappropriate to say al, therefore you should only say le. Unless somebody else is doing it, and then he can't say le. So he has to say al, and then al could still connote the future, because there's only one way of interpreting the al, because he can't say le, because he's not mechuyev. Rav Papa says that's not the case. even when somebody is doing the mitzvah themselves, but the fact that this mitzvah could be done through an agent, it defines the very mitzvah. It's a type of a mitzvah. It defines the mitzvah. It's a type of a mitzvah that doesn't have to be done through you. So maybe you can't say li. Yeah, even though I have the achrayus.
Looking, we'll never know if he's doing it for himself.
Right. Yeah. The outsider who comes to a house doing b'dikas chametz, he doesn't know. He'll never know if you're the guy or somebody else's. We're talking about a shliach who does his job well. He never knows. Right? You come into an office, you always know who's the boss and who's the employee. If the employee is doing his job well, and the boss is doing his job well, they're both working. I don't know the difference. It's a type of mitzvah that the Rabbeinu Shalom says, it doesn't have to be done through you. It can be done through a shliach. So Rav Papa says, so you can't say le. You have to say al. But Mela, since you have to say al, so then you're not forced to say le, you have to say al, and then al doesn't mean the past. Al means the future. So therefore, Rav Papa says, in this case, you don't say le, you say al. But you can't say a lamed since it could be done through somebody else. And therefore, when you say al, it means lahaba. And he says, and there's a big mila in that, because it teaches people that this is a type of mitzvah that could be performed through something else, and that it means lahaba.
Shows you a tam. So you have even more.
And this is now pshat in the Gemara. By levayir, everybody holds it means the future. And therefore, so all the mitzvahs that you say alamid, don't change it, because la means lahaba, and al might mean the past, and therefore you should always say lit. The argument is mitzvahs that could be fulfilled through somebody else. Over there, you could say al kadei shaloi l'shanas toifus habracha ben shenasis ayidei ba'aleha u ben shenasis ayad acher. Over here, you could say al, and it's good to say al for a third reason, not to change the text between a shliach and me. When I'm doing bir chametz, I'm going to say leh. When you do it, it's going to be al. It's much better to keep it a uniform text. Therefore, this is prat in the Gemara. By levayir, nobody argues that it's lahaba, and therefore, whenever you could say leh, stick to leh. No question. The question becomes those mitzvahs that you could do through something else, through somebody else. And here's the question. Rav Papi says, you still must do leh, and Rav Papa here argues and says do al. That's what he says. Afilu hachi, even though you don't want to change the text, manda amar levayis svirele al karcha yashlanu l'shanaisam. Rav Papa says you have no choice. You have to change the text from the person to the shliach. Why? Since you could say a lamed, l'fisha mitzvah mutelas alav, because it's my mitzvah. Chayva. Because it's my mitzvah, I could say alamed. Ilu nevarich ba'al have a mashma meikar. Papi says you can't say al. Al would connote the past. You have to stick to lamed. It's going to change the bracha from you to your shliach. I don't have a choice. We have to change the bracha. Umar savar, if Papa holds no, the lahaba mashma. Al can mean the future. Can mean the future. V'kiva de lahaba mashma tvei. And since it's mashma more lahaba, why does he hold it's lahaba? Because he holds that you can't say li, because somebody else can do the mitzvah, and therefore you have to say al. And if you have to say al, it's mashma lahaba because you have no choice. So then it's better tvei havalon levruche bahani balma levruche belamed kadeshiyei nikem berchaysav shamitzvah yichaylis kaimai deyacher. So we could see from the bracha that somebody else can do it. Not to change the text between the person himself and the shliach. So by Mila, if the Avi Haben makes the bracha, will be the same achloikas. Rav Papi will say Lamel. Papi will say Lamel, because you could say Lamel, and if you could say Lamel, if you say Al, it connotes the past. Rav Papa says you can't say Lamel, because it's a type of mitzvah. Inherent to the fabric of the mitzvah is that somebody else can do it. So this is a little bit of a subtle machloikas here.
That makes it clear that it's
a subtle machloikas. According to Rav Papi, There's a din that a mitzvah can be done through a shliach. But if I'm doing it myself, it's on me. Rav Papa says, no, it defines the very mitzvah. Even when I'm doing it, the gather of the mitzvah is a mitzvah that can be done through a shliach. That's the uptouch of the mitzvah. It's a mitzvah that you're not obligated. You're obligated, but you could fulfill it through somebody else. But it's not true. The mitzvah is, you have to get done the bir chametz, but you don't have a mitzvah to bir. You don't have a mitzvah to bir. You can be appointed shliach. It's almost inherent to the mitzvah. It's the gather of the mitzvah. The mele, you can't say li. You have to say al. If you have to say al, then it doesn't mean the past. It means the future, because you have no choice. And there's a mile in saying al. Why? First of all, it teaches everybody a halacha that this is a type of mitzvah that other people can do. And number two, you're not changing the text between doing it yourself and doing it through a shlich. It's much geschmacker. It's much nicer when you have a unifying text for all situations. Rav Papi says, I'm sorry, I got no choice. I have to change the text. If you do it yourself, livai. You do it to somebody else, I'll be. So in all mitzvahs where there's one category, another category, the Ran says there's no machlokes, li'al. Machlokes here is, it's a mitzvah that you could do through an agent, but you're choosing not to do through an agent. You choose to do it yourself. Like bir chametz, here's the only situation where there's a machlokes. Another situation would be mila. Another situation would be pidyon haben. What do we do for pidyon haben? If I'll do al pidyon haben, which is talk about what we do, al pidyon haben. According to Rav Papi, no. Livdois haben. If you're appointing a shliach, appoint a shliach.
Not really answering why they picked.
He is. That's why they chose bir chametz.
You have other cases,
but only a few. You don't have so many. So they chose bir chametz. But
since anyway we're talking about chametz.
So they didn't say bir chametz. But it's not a question on kol haTorah. They shouldn't ask on all the mitzvahs. What do we make a bracha? We know what to make. It's a question on bir chametz.
So what's the answer for all of Hila's matzah?
Okay, 1 second. Good question. Vasikno, and the maskana is al bir chametz. The halach is al ulefichach alei v'kayoytze b'shichel iskayim aydayachim avarchin ba'al davka. So we learn from here that any mitzvah that you could do through somebody else, even though you did it yourself, you should say al. Umina. From here we learn out the maskana avi ben nami mevarich ba'al. So when a father does a bris himself, he also says al. We follow Rav Papa. Don't say li, say al. Why? Because it's a bracha. It's a mitzvah that could be done through somebody else, even if it's not done through somebody else. Shaloi kedivrei harambam zal shekaser peri gimel meilchus mila shimoya molas b'noi mevarich rekshanum toizav tzivanu lamolas haben. Unlike the Rambam who says the father says lamol, ve'ein dvarav mechuvarin. His words are not right. The literally means white. They're not clear. They're not correct. When we said this, it was Hana Milili Rav Papi Damal Levayer. When the Gemara said the father should say Lamul, it was busy explaining the view of Rav Papi, who says Levayer. Then you say Lamul. Aval Rav Papa Damar Albiur Avia Ben Nami Mevarech Alamila. But Rav Papa who says Al, the father of the child, also says al the mila ba'avia ben kebir chametz dami. The father doing mila is like me doing bir chametz. The ihu nami mechayev ela the ef shalom evadai deyacher. I am obligated, but I could do it through somebody else. This is where the Ran disagrees with the Rambam. Of course, the Rambam has a very big answer on the Ran, and the Rambam says, you don't understand because you decided that the Gemara is siding with Rav Papa against Rav Papi, that you should say al instead of li. But I actually disagree. I hold that the Gemara sides with Rav Papi and says that li means the future, and the reason you say al bir chametz is like lulav because you already did the mitzvah. So therefore, when you're circumcising your child, you should say lamul because it's something you're doing in the future. So the Rambam doesn't have the problem of the Ran because he learned the whole Gemara differently than the Ran. Sagt the Ran weiter. I'm going to read a little fast because I want that we should be toifus the nekuda. He now goes through what would seem are maybe the contradictions to everything he told us. So we're now going to go through some of the things you mentioned. Those mitzvahs that you cannot fulfill them only by yourself, we say a lamed, lefichach, on a mevarchen. Therefore, we make a bracha. Tefillin, tzitzis, yeshiva sukkah, lamed. Why? No shliach. I can't do tzitzis or tefillin through a shliach or sukkah. Bir chametz umilu shchita, ba'al. Bir chametz, mila, and shchita, we say al. Why? I could fulfill it through a shliach, even when I'm doing it myself. V'hainu detanya b'sefta, b'shili mechiltin, and that's what he says, the Braisa, Ezo birchas ha-pesach, asher geshanu toisav v'tzivonu, lechel ha-pesach. Ezo birchas ha-zevach, asher geshanu toisav v'tzivonu, lechel ha-zevach. The Ran embraces the shita that you say, lechel, not al achilas ha-pesach. V'hainu nami detanya b'perik arvi Pesachim, this is the Gemarah in Pesachim, Kuf Yudalid, the Gemarah says as follows, Pshita, heichidika shayiraki. If you have other vegetables by the Seder, so then for karpas, what do? Mevarich meikara b'rei pri adama v'achil. You make a b'rei pri adama and you eat your vegetable, your karpas, like potato or onion, whatever it is. Or l'chimati l'chazeres, when you come to the place of marer, chazeres, romaine lettuce, mevarich le'echol marer, you say le'echol marer. Heichidi lekashayarki, if you don't have other vegetables, what do? Amir Reb Huna, mevarich meikara b'rei pri adama v'achil. First, you make b'rei pri adama on the vegetable, which is the marer, because that's the only thing you have and you eat. Then you say alachilas marer. After you already filled up your stomach with marer, then you make a bracha later alachilas marer, because this is the only vegetable you have. No, what I meant was you make right away b'rei pri adama, and you make lechel marer, and then you eat. Now look at an interesting thing. When Reb Huna said his halacha, he said you make a bracha b'rei pri adama and then you eat, and later you say al achilas marer. When Reb Chizda modified it, he said you make a bracha b'rei pri adama and lechel marer. That's what the nusach of the Gemara is. Says the Ran shma mina. Yeah. So he says as a midama bekulu lechel, but Reb Huna al shma mina the koleicha the achelei the loitoymene klum mevarich lechel. You see that Reb Huna, when he said that when you eat it first, later you say alachilas, but in the other cases it says lechel. So what do we see from here? Whenever you eat it and you didn't eat it before, mevarich lechel. Kishar kol hamitzvah sheyev shelipatim and aydei acher shemevarich alein oiver lasiyasan belamed. Aval ma'ida svira leile Reb Huna kiven shemilei kreisei aval bishalei achel shemara kemevarich acher hamitzvahu or mevarich al or meshemachinam mevarich benetilas lulav al meshum the kiven the agba nafik bevachi yisa begemara. What is the Ran telling us? If you're eating marer for the first time, you're going to say lecha. Reb Huna says you're eating marer for the second time because you already ate it by karpas. So then you can say al because you did the mitzvah already. And that's why by lulav, everybody holds you say al because that we agree that if you did the mitzvah already, you say al. Here we see that the shita of the Ran is that you don't say al achilas marer. You say le'echel marer. You don't say al achilas ha-pesach. You say lechel pesach. In fact, the Meiri asks the question on the Rambam, why do you say alachilas matzah? According to the Rambam, you should say lechel matzah. And he answers, wrong, you should say lechel matzah, lechel marer, lechel ha-pesach. It's not our minig. Our minig is we say alachilas matzah, alachilas marer, right? That's why we have to understand why. But the Ran says it's not a contradiction to me, because you have to say, not al achilas marer was only said when you already ate marer earlier. You should say lechel marer. And according to him, you would say also lechel matzah because it's something you can't do through a shliach unless you did the mitzvah already, and then you say al. Miyu ikal lemeidak, the next page. Miyu ikal lemeidak b'hai klala. But there's a problem. What's the problem? Hadlakas ner Chanukah. Lighting Chanukah candles. Efshel asas aydei shliach. You could do it through a shliach. V'afil ha'achim mevarchinan alei lahadlik. Why by Chanukah do we say le? We should say al. You could do it through a shliach. I could appoint somebody to light Chanukah candles for me. The answer is ve'ikala meimar. The kivan damrin bepedek b'mamadlikin. The Gemara says the tzarich lishtatufe bepriti. I have to give the money. I have to have a shtatvus with prutas to pay for the oil for the candles. Kivan sheina yoytz ela b'shal atzmei in mitzvah zu yichel liskayim adayacher. This is not a classic definition of shlichus where somebody can do it completely on their own. They have to be using my money. So therefore, it's not like beer chametz where you need nothing from me. In fact, you don't even have to tell me, right? You could go and do beer chametz and it's good. Here, I have to be zech mishtatif, even if the lighting lapayel is you. So therefore, he says it's not a classic geder of shlichus, and therefore when you do it yourself, you say le hadlik neir Chanukah, because it's a mitzvah on me to it's light. You can light, but I still have to give you my prutas. The next question is from a Gebraysa and Brachas. Person was going to tithe truma. You can appoint a shliach to separate truma. Why do you say lehafrish truma? You should say, according to the Ran, al hafrashas truma. According to the Rambam, it's not a question. The Rambam holds when you're going to do a mitzvah that you're obligated to do and you're doing it yourself, you do it leh. But according to the Ran, that the maskana of the Gemarah is that when it's a mitzvah you could do through a shliach, you say al, like bir chametz. Why by truma do you say lahafresh? By Chanukah I answered why. Because when I'm doing it myself, it's not something I could completely do through a shliach. I have to participate myself. By matzah and maror, I said, say lechel matzah, lechel maror, lechel pesach. But what about by truma? You should say al. And for the Ran, yashloimar shekivon shashliach eina yochel litrim elamidas bailam. He cannot give your truma only with your consent. The Chaim alone. We have halacha. Toirim es she'eino shaloi ein trumasi truma. If I go into your grain and I take truma and I give it to the kohen, you're obligated. It's worthless. It's not truma. It's not holy. A Yisro can eat it. The darshinon atem gam atem l'rabbi shluchachem ma atem l'daitchem af shluchachem l'daitchem. We learn by truma. It says kein tarimu gam atem. The shliach has to be like atem. Just like when you do truma, it's with your consciousness. He has to do it with your consent, with your consciousness. Yes. Every 1 second. Shliach, yes, but we'll see. The only way you could fulfill truma is through myself. I have to be involved. The shliach has to consult with me. He could do the delivery and the separation, but he has to consult with me. I have to be involved. Unlike Mila, you don't need this. You see a Jewish child, he's 8 days old, right? You go and do the Milah. It's done. The mitzvah was done. Davia Ben doesn't have to say, oh, I have to now do another milah. Bir chametz. You go, you don't ask me. You see, oh, this guy is in Florida, this house. You go do brikas cham, do bir chametz, it's done. You don't say he was over by Rabbi Yamatzeh, tashbis, so he didn't do it. It has to be done. So here, it's a different type of shlichus. You're right, it's not a shluach, shlodim that I appointed you, because then it's midas. Truma, I have to appoint you. At least I have to agree. In other words, I could say lahafrish. You know why? Because it's not a mitzvah that essentially could be done completely to somebody else. He could do it, but it has to be with my dash. Just like by Chanukah, it has to be with my money, my prutas. So therefore, the lamed works. Next question. Al sviras ha'omer. Can you appoint a shliach for sviras ha'omer? I could say, you daven mayra for me, you daven mincha for me, you do svira for me. It doesn't work. I have to do svira myself. So why do you say al svira ha'omer? You should say lispoir ha'omer. The answer is vikal meimar shekivon shekvar korav ha'omer vehein moinin mimenu v'loy moinin loy tiknua ba'al. This is unique because what are we doing? We're counting from the omer that happened already. The carbon omer was brought on the 16th day of Nisan, and then you count 49 days beginning from that day. So I say, Hayoim shloisha yamim la'omer, right? So I say, even though I'm going to count the omer, but it's accounting to something that already happened. So it's like lulav, al natilas lulav. So therefore, by Sfiras ha'omer, the Ran says, it works with the algorithm, because the mitzvah happened already, even though there was no shliach. Here's the next question of the Ran. Al kriyasa. Why by Megillah do we say al mikra Megillah? Now here the answer should be fairly simple. Why al mikra Megillah? So according to the Ran, it would work very well. Can mikra Megillah be done through a shliach? Do you have to read the Megillah yourself? No. We appoint somebody to be a Balkaira. He reads the Megillah, but we have to listen to the Megillah, right? So what is this? This is an interesting situation. I have to be here, but I don't have to do the thing myself. So the Rana says, here's his question, listen to this. Because al mikra Megillah, the mitzvah on me is to hear the Megillah, not to read the Megillah. So mikra Megillah could be done through a shliach. So you say al, because it's a type of mitzvah that I can appoint you to read. Al mikra. So that's why you have to say al. Because mikra Megillah is not something you have to do. Mikra Megillah you could do, but you can have somebody else do. So you say al mikra. So now he says, but look at this. Ubeshoifer tiknu abracha al shmiyasai v'tiknu abalamed levishiyev sheliskayim aydei shliach. Navid ifcha shetei birchas Megillah al shmiya balamed ubirchas shofer al atkiya ubaal. By shofar we say lishmaya. By Megillah we say al. Why? The system now works. Because by shofar we say lishmaya kol shofar. Could you make a shliach to hear shofar? No. So you have to say li. Because that's only you can do. By mikra Megillah we don't say lishmaya ha-Megillah. We say mikra. Could you make a shliach to read the Megillah? Yeah. So he says, by shofar you have to say li because you're emphasizing the hearing. By Megillah you say al because you're emphasizing the reading. Why don't you do the opposite? Say al tkiyas kol shofar, which you can appoint a shliach. Lishmaya Megillah. Why here do you focus on the kriya, which you can appoint a shliach on, and here you focus on the shmiya, where you can't appoint a shliach? Either do lishmaya kol shofar lishmaya Megillah, or al tkiyas shofar al mikra Megillah, or al tkiyas shofar and lishmaya Megillah. Why by Megillah do we choose the shlichus? And by shofar we choose the aspect which only I can do. And therefore it becomes a lamed and an al. You understand Iran's question? A big question. It makes sense. The system is perfect. Here we say mikra. Here we say lishmaya. I don't know. You understand what I'm saying or not? Everyone is looking at me, yeah? Reading the Megillah can be done through a shliach. You don't have to read a Megillah. You have to hear the Megillah. Blowing shofar can be done through a shliach. You don't have to blow shofar. You have to hear shofar. Most of us don't blow shofar. So if I focus on reading the Megillah, I have to say al, because that's through a shliach, right? There's no mitzvah on me to read the Megillah. I could, but I could also appoint you to read the Megillah. What I have to do is hear the Megillah. I have to be in Shul. I don't have to read it. By shofar, I don't have to blow shofar. I have to hear shofar. So by shofar, we choose to focus on lishmaya, and therefore it's a lamed, because I'm the only one who can do it. You can't hear shofar for me. Can I appoint you to hear shofar? It doesn't work. I'm staying home, you hear shofar for me. It has to go into my ears. By Megillah, we focus on mikra, so if we do it al. Says around, what's the chachma? What's the seichel there? Yeshloimar. The answer is, Lefi shebe Megillah, yesh pisuk oisius. There's a big difference between hearing the Megillah and hearing shofar. Shofar, do. By Megillah, pisuk oisius. It's letters, separated. Words, sentences. You have to hear it. You have to hear the story read. Tiknu birachasa al kriyasa. So therefore they focused on the reading. L'lamet to teach you. Shaloi b'koil bulvad hu yoytze. You're not yoytze the Megillah by coming to Shul. But by shofar, that's exactly how you yoytze. Do. You hear the word. This is the Ran's word. Don't think you hear the call. The guy is screaming, "That's not called Megillah. It's Megillah." You have to hear the word. He's reading a story. You got to hear the story.
So that you can't appoint someone.
Time element.
You can't appoint someone else for that.
You can appoint for mikra.
No, because you have to hear the words.
You have to hear the words that he reads, but you don't have to read.
Mikra then.
No, see.
Why do you say mikra then?
Because that's what you want to say. L'lamet to teach. Shaloi b'kol bulvad hu yoytze. The bracha really, we look at brachas as just, the bracha was really preparing the person for the mitzvah. When you make a bracha, you're supposed to think about the bracha, what you're doing. So when they made the bracha, they said, realize there's going to be a reading here. Al mikra Megillah. There's going to be a reading. What are you reading? You can't say al mikra shofar. You're not reading anything. You can say al tkiyah shofar. Yeah. So meila shaloi b'kol ela b'shmiyas kriyas aval b'shofar ein loshen tkiyah meichiach pisuk koilas yosem b'shmiyah. By tkiyah, you'll say litkoya kol shofar. It doesn't sound like litkoya. Make sure you hear a tkiyah and a shvar. Blowing and hearing is one that comes from the other. Kriya and shmiya. Kriya is reading. Shmiya is hearing. You can hear sounds and you can hear words. Every word also has a sound. Word has sounds, and word. It's also a sound. So that's why we focused on mikra, so we said al. We focused on shmiya by tkiyas, and we say lam. And the Ran finishes, I learned this, mi yisoid Rabbi Seinu Hatzarfatim. This is the yisoid that was established by our French sages, the French rabbis, for Haramban Zal and Rabbeinu Moshe ben Nachman Zal, Bilikutim, basically in his Chidushei Haramban. This is his derech in the Gemarah, Rabbi Seinu Hatzarfatim. There is a tam in brachas, and this is the system of brachas, and that's how it works. This would answer al mitzvahs tzitzis, I think, because as we said yesterday, in the Shitta of the Rambam, most people, when they say al mitzvahs tzitzis, they're already wearing the tzitzis. So it's similar to Sfiras HaOmer, similar to Lulav, similar to al achilas maror according to Rav Huna. That's I think that would work. But negaya al mitzvahs tefillin, I think for that you can answer as is brought according to other mefarshim and Rishonim bring, similar to what the Kasef Mishnah told us in the Rambam, that since you already did tefillin shal yad, so you say al mitzvahs. Plus, you want to make a heker between the first mitzvah and the second mitzvah, not to make the same oisius, lahaniach, the same text, lahaniach. So you want to make a heker between the two brachas, just like we don't want to make a heker between the person and the shliach, which is why we like to say al for everybody, right, as he explained before. Here we do want to make a heker because it's two separate brachas, so that would be the justification for al mitzvahs tefillin. We had the justification for al pidyon haben because it works with shlichus. We have the justification for al ashchita, for al hamila. We understand lahadlik ner shal Shabbos and Chanukah, because when you come to somebody's house and they light candles, you have to be zich mishtatev with a pruta. Again, it's not a classic case where you could do things on your own. Lahafrish truma we understand. We understand lahaniach tefillin. We understand lahis atev batzitzis. I can't make a shliach for that. I say, you go daven and put on a talis, and I'll be yoitze. The talis has to be on my body, and that basically covers the shita of the Ran. I just want to, in conclusion, bring, and this is pretty straightforward, and that is that there's one more shitta in Rishonim. It's not complete if you don't mention it. And this is the shitta of Rabbeinu Tam. We just learned the shitta of the Ran and the Ramban, which is also the shitta of the Riva and the shitta of Rabbeinu David. But there's one more last shitta. So we first had the shitta of the Rambam and the Meiri. Now we learn the shitta of the Ramban, the French rabbis, the Ran, the Riva, Rabbeinu David. And now we have the last shit, which is shit of Rabbeinu Tam, who was also from the French rabbis, which is also brought in the Rosh Mesechus Pesachim, and it's also it's also brought in some other mefarshim. Tosfos said the first shit is like we said from the Raiva. There's no difference. We do both. But then Tosfos said that there's probably an algorithm, but the Ri didn't know it. The Ri said he doesn't have a tam for all the brachas. And that's why the Rishonim struggled to find what's the algorithm that we were using. So the Rambam has his mahalach, and the Ran has his mahalach, and then there's one more mahalach. And this mahalach goes like this. It's completely a new derech. When you're doing a mitzvah that has a fixed time, meaning you do this XYZ and you finish the mitzvah. For example, eating matzah, right? You eat a kazayas matzah, you did the mitzvah, then you do al. When you go about to do a mitzvah that's not completed after a fixed time or a fixed activity, not only it takes a long time, that's not the issue. It's rather, it continues and continues and continues. It may continue throughout the whole day. For example, sukkah, leisha basukkah, even if you're not mechuyev to do it a whole day, but any time of the day that you do it, you're doing a mitzvah. For example, tefillin. Here you say lamet, le. This is the mahalach of Rabbeinu Tam. Okay. So in other words, a mitzvah where there's a fixed time and you do it and you complete it. And that's it. For example, a bris. You do, Baruch Hashem, right? You do the bris, that's the mitzvah. You're like, oh, it's 6 o'clock, let's do it again. We want to do a mitzvah. Chas v'shalom, right? So the bracha is al, which means al amila. On the millah, done. Another example will be Al Mikra Megillah. You read the Megillah, you're done. No, let's read the Megillah again. It's 2 a.m. I mean, you could learn the Megillah, but you can't make a new bracha, Mikra Megillah, right? It's going to be a bracha levatol. So you say, Al Achilas Matzah, Al Hatfila. You go to the mikveh, you're done. You want to go to the mikveh again? Fine. I mean, you can go to the mikveh again. You go to the mikveh 100 times a day. People who spend a lot of time in the mikveh. But you say Al Hatfila, Al Netilas Yadayim. Right? Al Netilas Yadayim. Makes sense now, Al Netilas Yadayim. Why? You wash your hands. By the way, how are you going to explain Al Netilas Yadayim according to the Ran? You can't make a shliach for Netilas Yadayim. Right? The answer is, though, because we have the second principle that the Rambam taught us, and the Ran also, that if you do the bracha after the mitzvah, then you say Al. By Netilas Yadayim, often you do the bracha after the mitzvah. Right? But according to this formula, Al Netilas Yadayim works perfectly. You do Netilas Yadayim, you're done. You can't wash your hands 1,000 times and make a bracha. It's going to be a bracha l'dolah. Al hafrashas truma. But now let's take a look at tefillin, or tzitzis, or sukkah. I could sit in the sukkah in the morning, sit in the afternoon, sit at night, come back. It continues. I'm always making a bracha. Same is true with tefillin. There were Yidden who sat with tefillin a whole day. There's even those who hold that the mitzvah of tefillin is to sit a whole day. It's just anus rachmana patre. Right? But however you argue, if it's the mitzvah to sit a whole day, you certainly mekayim a mitzvah when you sit in tefillin and you put on a talis, and that's why you make another bracha. If you're Mesiach Das, you go away, you come back, you make another. It's not a bracha levatol. Here you say lamed. Why? Because basically, right? Not al hanachas tefillin, where he told me a mitzvah about regarding putting on tefillin. It's li. It represents, it's something that keeps on going. It keeps on going. It doesn't end. Leisha Basukah is now going to go for 7 days straight. Lahaniach Tefillin is going to go for a whole day. Lesatev Batzitzis is going to go for a whole day. That's the shitta that the Rosh brings. Rabbeinu Tam used to say, all mitzvahs that are done right away, you say Al, Megillah, Tefillin, Tel Sedayim, Truma, Matzah, Morer, Al Achilas Matzah. Al Achilas Morer now makes perfect sense. You eat Matzah, you're done. You eat Morer, you're done. But Laniach, Tefillin, Satabot says, Leisha Basukah, Yesh Ben Shiui. There's time, and it continues, and the Lashon says, Li, La, Lisatif, Liyas Mu'utabit Tefillin. To be crowned with Tefillin, to be wrapped with tzitzis, to sit in the Sukkah, to sit there a whole day, to walk there a whole day. So therefore, when you say the mitzvah is lehaniach tefillin, start the process and it goes on. It's not al hanachas tefillin, which is a one-time act and you're done. Be your chametz. You're finished with the chametz. You're done. There's nothing else to do. You're going to come 6 and 7. Let's do the mitzvah again. You're done. The mitzvah is done.
So you have to still
what about Chanukah? Chanukah says yashihui b'mitzvasa. The mitzvah continues because the Gemarah says the mitzvah is from Shkiyas Achama at Shetichla Regel Min Ashuk. The mitzvah continues till the last people leave the street. So he says that's why you say Lahadlik in Chanukah.
Once you did it, you did it.
Meal is also, so if you have no more than told them, right, you can do it. Like
it says matzah, it's a sman.
It's a maisa.
You would light again?
After half an hour, that's it. Done.
But if you have bigger candles, it lasts longer. If you have more oil, it lasts longer.
Look, it's done.
But the mitzvah is continuing.
Look what's the mitzvah.
Mila, when you do it, it's done. There's no continuing. But Hanukkah candles keep going.
Hanocha is a mitzvah, so it keeps on.
Whole half an hour. After half an hour is done.
An hour.
But if it's
apparently, the point is that it continues in the fact that you have to put an oil to burn for a while. And that the zman of the mitzvah continues.
Oh, so like Mila, once you do it, it doesn't continue,
the zman of the mitzvah continues.
Mila also, the zman continues. You could do it any time of the day. I guess once you did the Mila, you're not going to say I'm doing it again. But somebody nervous also, you're not going to say I'm doing it, I'm not lighting again.
No, you're not going to do a second adlaka.
Right. Because Mila is the whole day also.
You want it to burn. You want it to continue.
Oh, so that's the right.
Yeah, you want it to continue. I think that's the vibe.
Not because you can do it at any time.
Right. Not just that you could do it also later. Like he said before with a bris, you could also do a bris later. Okay, there's a concept of zrizin makdim and lemitzvahs, but you could do a bris a whole day. And you can eat matzah also later. I don't have to eat matzah the first second. I can eat matzah an hour later. The vart is you want it to continue. Just like the tefillin, just like the sukkah. You understand? Even if it's not mamash the same.
So it's not the mitzvah. When you're sitting for the sikkah, the whole time you're sitting for the sikkah.
Ein a chanami. Ein a chanami. Ein a chanami. But you want it to continue, and you put an oil for that.
So there's not a mitzvah. You don't have a mitzvah. You have the mitzvah.
It's part of the mitzvah. We don't want it to be extinguished. I mean, if it gets extinguished, there's the halachas what you do. If you have to light it, you don't have to light it. But l'chatchila, you want to put an oil because you want it to continue. You want it to burn. Like by Shabbos, lahadlik ner shel Shabbos would make sense also. You want the house to be lit. You don't just want to light the Shabbos candles. You want it to burn as many hours as you can. L'kvoya mezuzah would also make sense. Because as long as you're living there, you want the mezuzah to be there, and it's a mitzvah, right? What about l'shmaya kol shofar? The Rosh says, because you don't just blow shofar. Fakir, the Chaim wanted you should do shofar by Musaf, by the Seder HaBrachas, and that was the Iker Mitzvah shofar, right? By Musaf, by Malchus, Zechronis, and Shofars.
How about the second Megillah? We sing the bracha again now.
Al Mikra Megillah?
Second in the morning.
You're reading the Megillah.
In the morning, second.
You'll make a bracha again.
You say
No. It's a separate bracha. It's a separate mitzvah. There's mitzvah Megillah at night, mitzvah Megillah by day.
Two separate.
Huh?
It's two separate.
It's two separate things, yeah. Separate things. But by Tkiyas, there's a hefsek between the Tkiyas because you're going to continue with the brachas of Musaf. By Bir Chametz, on the other hand, he says you say Al because the Rosh says you do the bittel, you do the bdiki, you do the bittel.
But after mitzvah it's done.
Huh?
After mitzvah it's done. The keys are done. You can't say, I want to hear again.
Right, but there's lechatchila a hefsek. By shofar, there's lechatchila a hefsek to the next step. There's lechatchila a hefsek.
Continues?
Right, yeah. Halal, he says, you say likra as a halal, not al mikra, because the Megillah you would read without a hefsek. And by halal, what used to be is the Chazan used to read and then be mafsik, and the tzibur would answer b'rashe prakim. And the main thing he says that the halal was mistaken for the Nevi'im made halal for every tzara that happens when they get redeemed from the tzara. So essentially it wasn't made for a chayva. So that's why it's al. I'll call upon them. This is the third shitta, the shitta of Rabbeinu Tam, the shitta of the Rosh. That what? That the difference of al and li would be the difference if it has a fixed time and you complete it, where the other ones continue, and that is the li, and therefore alachilas matzah would make sense according to this. Alachilas matzah would make sense perfectly because you eat the matzah and you did the mitzvah. Okay.
Before you can work the damn problem for alachilas matzah, how would...
The Ran holds you say lechel matzah.
Yeah, so that's the way he holds.
Taka the Ran holds you make lechel matzah. Rabbeinu Peretz, for example, combines both of these shittas together. He says you need both. You need that you should do it yourself, and it can't be done through a shliach, like the Ran says, but you also need that it should be something, right, that doesn't continue. And that's why he says you say al achilas matzah. In other words, he holds the moment it's something that doesn't continue, it changes from li to al. So the Ran is right. You only say li if it's something that you can't do through a shliach, right? But you need one more condition to say li, that it doesn't continue. I'm sorry, that it does continue. Sorry. You need one more condition for li that it doesn't continue. And that's why he says, al achilas matzah makes perfect sense. Yes. Rabbeinu Peretz combines both shittas.
And Ron says and it means on yourself, and it does continue?
The Ran doesn't speak about continuing. His only issue is yourself or a shliach.
Okay, so how...
If it's a mitzvah that could be done through a shliach, you say al.
The Ron Seder, each person would have to make their own bracha. But
So like the Ran, you would have to say lechel matzah.
each person at the Seder, you couldn't Monsey anyone at the Ron Seder.
No, by shofar you might see with the bracha.
No, I'm saying, I'm asking him how feels matzah. If he's
No, you probably could. You probably could. Just like shofar.
Just like so. So
Yeah.
you have a component since it's on him.
Yeah.
Below, and
Remember, when I hear a bracha, shemeya ka'oina.
right.
It's like me making the bracha. When I say amen, it's like I said the bracha. So it's like I said lishmaya.
The reason that he can blow and be moitzi everyone is that it's on him, Lishma.
Yeah. Yeah.
Everyone else.
It's on him also, right? It's on him also,
So
yeah.
that would be the same thing. The Ram
Yes.
said,
Yeah. Lishmaya kol shofar, because you can't have a shliach in shmiya. I can't make a shliach for hearing, and lechol matzah. You see clearly he holds that, because he says, the Gemara says lechol morer. Only if you did it already do you say al. So you see clear the shit of the Ran. In fact, the Meiri also says you say lechol matzah, but the Rambam holds al achilas matzah.
Why do you say al achilas matzah?
Like the Rambam, why you say al achilas matzah? That's difficult. The Meiri Taka argues says you should say lechol. We explained yesterday a few possible explanations. The Migdal Ois says because the Pesach has to be eaten b'chabura, and therefore you want to the Rambam holds that when you're doing a mitzvah for somebody else, you say al, and even though you're doing it for yourself here, but they wanted to emphasize that it's a collective mitzvah. You have to do it dafka b'chabura, and the matzah is eaten together with the korban Pesach and the Moreh also, and the Pesach is eaten dafka b'chabura. The Sameach says because the Achilas HaPesach is a hemshech to Shchitas HaPesach. So it's al, because you did it already. So you did it. That's the shit of the Sameach in the Rambam. It's not Poshet, al Achilas Matzah in Rambam. Then you have to be Masbid the whole in al Pipnimius. The difference of li and al Pipnimius HaTorah. Huh?
There's stories about that?
It's a whole other Mahalachi. It's not another, it's the Pnimius of it.
There's an explanation for doing this?
Vada. Why li? Why al? Okay.
According to Rabbeinu Tam, Tefillin Shel Rosh, you have to still come on if you did the yad.
Yeah. Rabbeinu Tam, Tefillin should be li. So Tefillin Shel Rosh, you have to say al mitzvahs because you did it already. Yeah.
Come on to it.
Yeah. But halal, you say likrei as a halal. Likrei. You don't say al.
Like Oisi is the same. It's also the same as like Oisi is by Megillah.
Yeah.
Why should I do it Oisi is by Megillah? Because the Shul has to be separate from the other one.
Yeah.
So it
So
is.
why is it different than Megillah? Not as possible that Shofar you say litkon,
L'shmoya kol shayfer.
Megillah you say amik Megillah. But key you also have the same key to hear every sound, not only the sound. It has to be at the kiyul, it has to be at the it has to be. It's not
What
just hear
would
the
be the
sound.
bracha now? The cry?
You're right. There's different koilas, but they're sounds. They're not words. It's a difference.
Different sound.
Think about it. I say litkoya, I say lishmoya. What are you going to learn different? Blow, hear. If you blow, I'll hear. I hear if you blow. If you say al shmiyas megillah, you can make a mistake. Hear the sound of the Megillah. Because when you say words, there's also sound. You see it practically. Yeah, people come to Shul. Wait, man, read it. I was at a guy, they finished the Megillah in like 7 minutes. He said every word. It's possible to hear. I don't know.
You don't have to understand it.
You don't have to understand, just the words.
It's really sound at that point. Because if you don't understand it's a different language, really what you're left with is the
Right.
sound.
I mean, you hope the ordinary Jew understands, but...
Even though you don't understand, you still have to hear it. You have to
Right.
hear that.
The Ran says when they made the bracha, they wanted to say al mikra. We're reading something. Malaita sefer. It's not a psan nigan. Da 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 da. And a clapping haman. We're reading.
You see the opposite when you see Mikra, you don't have to understand. Just
Like it seems like
Mikra, you have to read it. That's it.
But you don't read sound. Reading means you're pronouncing. Reading. What's it? Kriya satayra. Kriya likra basefer. Kriya means you're reading something, right? There's a theme. There's words. There's letters.
That's like if you do it yourself. The problem is that you're standing a shliach.
Here, if you say litkaya, you're not being moisef a chiddush over shmiya. Here, if you say shmiyas megillah, he says you might think the koil is enough. The Ran says, why by tefillin shal yad you say la'aniach and shal rosh al mitzvah? The Rosh clearly says the Chachamim didn't want to make 2 brachas one after the other, which are identical, and they said al mitzvahs by shal rosh because it's the end of the mitzvah. So it's al mitzvah. Completely al.
Otherwise, they didn't also make the same bracha twice.
By halal, he says, the Nevi'im said it to read it on every tzara when you get redeemed. So you don't say likrei sahalal, because any mitzvah that's not a chayva tamid, you don't say al. Al means it's a chayva tamid. Remember, there's no al. Here it's li when something happens. It's a whole new vart in the Rosh.
Doesn't have a specific timing.
That halal was not a chayva tamid. The main takon of halal was when Jews are in a tzara and they get liberated, they should then say halal. So Meili says it's not shaykh to say al, you should say li. That's what he explains. It's interesting that the Rosh also brings the second shit, the shit of the Ran, the Rivah, that it depends if you need a shliach or not. So he says, Lahadlik ner shel Chanukah, even though you could do it through a shliach, but the system is that everyone lights their own menorah in their house because the love of the nes, the special affection for Chanukah, so therefore people light it on their own, even though you could do it through a shliach. Here they made an exception to the Lahadlik. The Ram says because you have to give money. But the Rosh brings, because everyone likes to light the menorah on their own, they chvivus hanes. The same is true ner shel Shabbos. He says, Sfiras ha'omer, because the Chazan makes a bracha to be Monsey, whoever doesn't know how to make a bracha by Sfiras ha'omer, so therefore you say al over there, even though you have to count on your own. But since the bracha is made through the Chazan very often, especially if people forgot, then they have to be yotzeh from the Chazan. So he says, therefore you say al, as though it's a mitzvah that's done, it can be done through a shliach, because the bracha. By Torah, you would say lasik b'divrei Torah according to this, Ashkenaz, because it's not you can't make a shliach. Huh? You have to learn on your own. And lechel matzah, lechel marer also. Lechel matzah, lechel marer also. Birchas Koyanim, levarech es Ama Yisrael ba'ava. Levarech. So Birchas Koyanim is a mitzvah on you. You make the bracha before the mitzvah. Huh? No, it still makes sense because Birchas Koyanim, if a Koyan comes to a new shul,
you can do it again.
Do it again and again. You can bench Yidden the whole day. So Mela the live works. It's not you did Birchas Koyanim, you're done.
About Kiddush Shabbos, you don't say al, you don't say le, you don't say nothing. It's a big bracha. You say Mekadesh Shabbos. You don't say Lekadesh.
Yeah, that's different.
What is different?
No, that's not a Maisa. You're being. Hashem is Mekadesh Shabbos. You have a chiyuv to welcome Shabbos, Mekadesh Shabbos.
You don't have the chiyuv to be Mekadesh Shabbos.
You have the chiyuv, but I'm saying over there, the bracha is not on a pu'ula. The bracha is
it's already Mekadesh.
Yeah, Shabbos is holy. Your acknowledgement of the holy. You're not doing an activity.
It happens anyway.
Even Yom, Mekatcher v'kaim. Even Yom Tif that comes through Bezdin, but the Kiddush is the acknowledgement of Kedushas. Lulav, I'm shaking a lulav. I'm putting on tefillin. I'm counting the omer. I'm doing shchita, right? I'm doing bir chametz here. What am I doing?
Bir chametz also now.
I'm verbally acknowledging the Kedusha of Shabbos. It's not li or al. You understand? I'm thanking Hashem and making a bracha. I'm Mekadesh Shabbos. Yeah. The bracha is a prat in the Kiddush. The bracha is a prat in Kiddush HaShabbos.
It's chametz yivosek now. You're agreeing with that it's...
Einach chanam if you touch bittul that way. The Kiddush is that beer chametz, you say al, even though beer you don't do right now. You do beer now, you do bittul now, and you're going to burn it tomorrow.
It continues.
Huh?
It continues.
Yeah, but the point is, you could do it right now. You do everything right now, right? It's not like.
But you don't have to wait.
L'chayda.
How do you eat? And you can still eat the next morning.
Because like the Rosh, especially, we don't burn it after Sheish, but Chilas Sheish. Because he owes you over by your Monsey already from Shevat. So you burn it before. You burn it before the Sivsman. So you could burn it at night also. I mean, you could wait also. But the bracha, you make li. You don't make li because it's not something that you need to continue. I'll get in touch. Tzlucha Rabbi.
This class is brought to you by theyeshiva.net. Please help us continue the classes. Make even a small contribution at www.theyeshiva.net/donate.